Yeah, if you're using the brown Listerine, you're a terrorist. You've done some evil shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I've never thought about it, but now I'm like, yes. Mm-hmm.
Osama, brown Listerine.
Timothy McVeigh.
Yes, Timothy McVeigh, brown Listerine. I think if we really wanted to test people's character, if we wanted to get into like some Minority Report shit and start predicting crimes ahead of time, all you have to do is wait at the checkout aisle.
Yeah.
Keep a list of people doing brown Listerine.
It's like Sudafed. You know how you got to give them an ID if you want Sudafed? You should have to get your ID if you're getting brown Listerine. You got to write down your basics. We got to keep you on file.
I need all your information.
Yes.
I'm not going to arrest you on spot, but you better believe the NSA is keeping track of your ass from now on.
The government growing babies. Microchips in your anus. All koala bears are racist. The ozone layer owes me money. Martians invented turkey stuffing. Y'all can't tell me nothing.
Woo! There it is. There it is. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another spectacular, devastating episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of black conspiracy theories and we work to finally answer that question. Who the fuck is Herman Cain's ghost going to vote for? We need to know the answer to these questions. My gut is telling me Kanye. He seems like a Kanye man. That's the sense I'm getting, but we'll find out. Either way, we're happy that he's dead, and more importantly, we're happy to be here. I'm your host, Langston Kerman. I'm doing well. We are moving through this podcast, and every week I listen to myself, and I'm becoming more and more aware of my lisp, which I went to speech therapy class to get rid of as a child, and apparently it didn't work. Either that or my teeth are somehow rebelling against my tongue. Who knows? I'm not happy to hear it, but you know what I am happy about is my guest today. She's wonderful. She's hysterical. One of my favorite comedians. You know her from Two Dope Queens on HBO. You know her from her own podcast called Couples Therapy. She's hilarious. Give it up for my guest, Naomi Ekperigin. Yeah.
I love it. You gotta manufacture applause because we missed it. We missed it in the pandemic. So just give me a little bit of that.
I went door to door and got a bunch of people to clap individually and mushed it all together.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Langston, you look well. Good to see you over Zoom after all this time.
It has been a while. We haven't, I think the last time we saw each other was Zooming probably a month ago.
Was it? What happened a month ago?
We did that benefit show that you hosted, and you were very funny.
I hosted, honey. Bless. I forgot. I don't even know what you're referring to. Literally.
You're not invested at all. I love that. We were saving sick children, and you are completely uninvested.
I did my part. For the community. You know what I mean? I'm just always of service, so I don't even think about it anymore. I don't even know what I'm doing. I just show up. I suit up, and I show up. Okay.
The sacrifice is constant. Therefore, there's no reason to just sit and remember one.
Exactly.
I got you.
That's just it.
I get it. How are we doing? How are you handling things?
Henny, I take 2 melatonin gummies a night, sometimes a Pepto-Bismol chaser, okay? And I just, I told myself too, I was like, I'm going to use this time of quarantine. Oh, I'm going to come out so skinny, you ain't even going to recognize me. I'm about to get snatched in choir. Girl, went up a size. And so... You know what I mean? I'm just trying my best.
I feel like everybody sort of had that same sense of things, but I do think the people that are coming out of this buff or skinny, there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like, you're going, like, why are you thriving in the middle of everyone else in chaos?
Okay, do you know I was talking to one of my friends, like one of my best friends, she's in New York, and we were talking, and I was like, how you doing? And she was like, I'm doing great. She was like, I don't really like to be around people. She's like, I'm in the house. I'm reading my books. Her and her wife just got 2 cats. She is literally thriving in choir. I was like, I'm going to reach through this phone and punch your ass. Okay?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to punch you in the throat. Because she was serious. She was not trying to be funny. She was just like, I'm feeling wonderful. This is the best it gets for me.
And how dare she?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, how
Exactly.
dare you enjoy yourself to that level? And even if you are, shut the fuck up about it.
Thank you. I'm like, honey, you
Yeah.
don't tell it. You don't tell it. You go, I'm fine. You say, fine.
You don't go to a funeral and brag about how cool your suit is. We all see it. We see the nice suit. Focus on the dead man.
It's true. It's true. It was just
Listen,
like, oh my God,
it's out of control. But we spoke, and it took some work. You struggled through the assignment, but you came back to me with a wonderful conspiracy theory that I'm very happy for us to be digging into. I feel like it's a conspiracy theory as old as time.
Yes.
It's an antique, if you will, of conspiracy theories. But you told me, my mama told me,
White people don't get cold.
Yes. I will say this, right? The slight adjustment, what she told me, the fact was really, white people like it cold. They like it cold. They love that cold in their bones. And so whenever I was going to a Caucasian household, I brought a sweater. I was told to bring a sweater, bring a layer. If I was doing a sleepover,
okay,
you're taking the long pants. The white people like it cold. So it was a lot of like that vibe.
So this was actually coming from your mother, first of all, that your mother was in fact telling you this.
Yes.
And all of this was just in preparation for dealing with the white man's world.
Look, Langston, I take a premise very seriously. If you tell me the title of this podcast is My Mama Told Me, I'm not going to tell you something I heard on the street. I'm going to tell you what my mama told me. So
Honestly, how dare I ask you to break premise? You're an artist, and I appreciate that about you. But I love that. I love that you heard this from me.
I'm an artist. I'm a professional. So now, as you know, I famously went to the Dalton School, a private school in New York City, apparently where Jeffrey Epstein taught. Hello.
Hold on. I'm going to pause you there.
Well, that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. But go ahead. Tell me more.
So I started Dalton in 6th grade. And that was like literally my intro to like being around white people. Because I grew up in Harlem. My dad's from Nigeria. My mom's from Detroit. My world was black. Okay?
Sure.
It was several kinds of black.
Uh-huh.
Except for like...
black on black.
Exactly. I always say like, it's like Spike Lee plus the Lion King. We were giving you both energies, okay? An African moment, a Detroit moment.
Sure.
And like, but obviously through pop culture, I knew like white people. And I remember thinking when I was going to start school there, I was like, I thought the white people would be nice. That's how they get you. And then I thought that... And I remember thinking white girls wash their hair every day because on TV shows, like more kid shows, like I remember Saved by the Bell or something, where like one of the characters, like Kelly would be like, I'm washing my hair. And that would be the reason why she would like not go somewhere.
Oh,
not
that she
go on a
wouldn't
date.
be able to go somewhere because she had to wash her hair that
Right.
day.
So I was like, oh, they just wash their hair all the time. Those are the facts I went in with. And then my mother, very much in advance was like, okay, you about to go to this school on Park Avenue. We're going to have to just run through some basics. And I was like, and like anytime I would say, I'd be like, oh God, it's freezing at school. She was like, because the white people like it cold.
Come on
And I was
now.
like, okay. Well, didn't know.
This was on the starter sheet I sent you with. Did you not read to the bottom? They're never chilly. They they enjoy the cold in their bones, I believe you said.
Yep, they love it.
That's so fascinating. The hair part I had not heard, but I did personally also think that white people wash their hair all the time because similarly in watching television, they always left the bathroom drying off their hair after a shower.
Yeah.
I thought, it's like always they're walking out the shower and they're like drying their hair before a phone call from the murderer comes.
Right, or like the turban. The girls always had like the towel turban where they're like,
exactly.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like gym class showers on TV.
Right, they'd be washing their hair in gym and shit, and black people would never do that. I'm not showing up with shampoos and conditioners for...
Did people even take, again, because I grew up in the city versus like suburbs, like were there did people actually take showers in gym class?
We did not take showers after gym class, but we did take showers after like basketball practice or like
Okay, at school. You wouldn't just wait till you got home?
well, it was less of the practices and more of like sometimes we had to practice and we had a game and then we would just like be hanging out because we were trying to get girls to like us and shit.
So you took a shower.
You took a shower because you were musty from
Right.
literally hours of running around with other musty people.
I mean, the idea of practice and then a game seems too much. That seems overwhelming. I'm not active. I'm not active. I'm famously
Sure.
inactive.
So I think what it was a bunch of grown men making up for their lost time through us.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're going to turn you boys into machines instead of being reasonable and being like, hey, man, I'm not sure that I'm built for this. I'm actually probably going to run a comedy podcast at some point. I'm probably just going to be a silly Billy, so you don't have to run me quite as much.
But did they like assume you were sporty? Because I know when I started, so I'm about 5'8". I was probably 5'6" as of age 11. So I was always, I was tall when I was young and then kind of stopped growing. But people were always like, you got to play basketball. And so they kept trying to get me to play. And it was like, I don't like competition. I don't like sweating in public. There was an A team and a B team. I got on the B team and literally they were like, could you just like raise your hands and try to stop the ball? You know what I mean? Like, and they're trying to shoot it. And that was it. Because I was like, I'm not here for all this. Like, why are y'all so intense?
Why am I needing to stop the ball? This person did everything they wanted.
They wanted.
He or she deserves the opportunity to put the ball in the basket.
I feel that way. I'm very, like, I just was not, like, competition in that way never really kind of registered for me or, like, the symbolism of, like, for the team, for the school. It's like, who cares?
Does that remain now? Are you still? I'm sure you're not doing sports. You're not. You're saying you're famously not.
Yes, thank you for understanding. Famously,
but do you not have anything in your life that you're like competitive over, or like a thing that you're like?
Okay, sure, jealousy, but that's not the same as competition. I have dreams, and I wonder how other people have achieved them already so quickly, so much younger than me. But I don't have this. Like even like the jealous, right? Where like I don't think other people. Not most other people. Mm-hmm. But I don't think most people, like, if they get something, I'm not like, they shouldn't have it. I'm like, I just want it too.
Why the fuck don't I also have that?
Exactly. It's not me being like, except for every now and then, if you're a TikTok star and then you get a comedy special, then I get stressed out.
Let me be clear. I'm a hater through and through. So I be wishing the worst on people that I get along with fine. It's not even like we have a bad relationship, but my soul ain't good. So I just be at home boiling.
Have you always? Because I don't think of you that way. You have such a sunny disposition. You're like, this like biracial Zach Morris, giving us that man about town energy. You know what I mean? Giving us Colgate Smile, giving us Queen Wife. You know what I mean? You guys are coming through, evoking a Howard University energy when you guys enter the room.
No, my wife is the energy that we present, and I am an evil sort of like guy twiddling his fingers at home, and she has to constantly be like, "Hey man, maybe don't be this way," and I have to be like, "You don't get it. You don't get what I am," and then I try to convince her to stay. That's pretty much the relationship.
That's good. Well, that's good. She she's staying. She wants to be there.
She's staying. I don't know for how long, but apparently she's staying. Let me ask you this. Okay, we're talking about white people in cold.
Oh, yes.
Were you put off in seeing their behaviors in cold temperatures? Was this something that you were like, y'all are different than me? Or was this just like, oh, this is new and exciting?
Yeah, I thought it was psycho. I had a friend in high school, again, also Dalton. He wore shorts every single day. In New York City, basketball shorts, okay? Giving you a thin mesh moment in December. And I remember just being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Or like the kids who if they lived in the neighborhood, so not far, they wouldn't wear a coat. Because it was like, oh, well, I'm just got to walk 10 blocks. And it would just be like T-shirt. And New York is cold. Like, it starts getting cold in New York in October. And it's pretty much cold until April. And so I was like, this is crazy to me. It was very crazy to me.
Did you ever ask, like, why are you doing this? What?
Well, I would
What's
just
the
say, I'm
mess
like,
short
are you
for?
not cold? And he'd be like, no,
Mhm.
I'm not cold. And I was like, are we really that different? You know what I mean? That's what it made me think. I was like, how are you not cold? Meanwhile, I was somebody who, New York winter, honey, my mom taught me, I was wearing tights under my jeans, like another layer.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I'm like, I'm literally freezing, would keep them on all day. Not even like change when I got to school.
Just in case that cold get up under there, I got another layer to protect me, a wall.
And
that's the fascinating part. I love what you said about are we that different, because it's a scary revelation seeing the way the whites have handled the cold for so many years, because we argue constantly that biologically we're not that different as a species, that like most of our arguments about race are purely built on like systems and hatred, whatever. But then you get to fucking November and you see the way people are behaving outside, and you're like, well, maybe some of these eugenics claims there's some value there. And it's not that they're smarter than us, it's just that maybe their bodies are built differently than ours, that we're not actually
do they have duller receptors as a result of not being beaten for hundreds of years? Perhaps the skin, perhaps the receptors just don't sense the chill.
That's fair. I have to assume tender meat freezes at a different temperature
I believe so.
than hard meat. And they just got that hard meat that ain't been beaten. It ain't tender.
Honey, it ain't been tenderized is a nice way of putting it.
Okay, so you're seeing these kids walk to school. You're seeing them behave sort of loosely, freely in the cold.
Terrifying.
And you're terrified. You're not really sure how to process this. Are you then making choices to stay away from them? Is this putting you off? Do you know what I mean? Like, is this
I didn't have that choice, right? Like, because they were the only people I could interact with. So it wasn't that. It was just very, it's just interesting, when you're in a situation, again, as like the only black person or one of a few black people, where you're like, you almost feel a little crazy because there's not really anyone else you can talk to about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So like, unless I go home and be like, oh my God, but it's like too late. You don't want to talk about how someone didn't wear a coat. That's not a good story. But in the moment, I'm like, this is wild, right? And like, there's no one there to kind of say you're correct.
Yeah, you can't go back to your mom like, Mom, I've got a good one today. They don't wear a coat. She's like, yeah, I don't know. That's not a great story.
Yeah,
you got to give them the hits.
Right.
Okay, but you, and this is interesting because you are married to, or engaged. Married, engaged, which one are you?
Honey, 10 years strong. You can just call it common law at this point.
You're common law with a white person.
Yes. Who likes it warm? Can you imagine? I found someone. It's funny though. Andy in general, his like hands and feet will be cold. Like I remember the first time I held his hand and I was like, you're freezing.
Yeah.
And I said, there it is. But he doesn't like to be cold. So he's like, yeah, I get cold really easy. He's like really into being toasty warm.
Okay.
I found the one.
He likes black women. He likes being warm. This guy's breaking all the rules.
Well, he says it's because he's Jewish. I don't know, but he's like, I really think we're in a liminal space.
I do think that there's probably some truth to that. As a half Jew, I often find
Are
that
you half chosen? I didn't know
I'm
that.
half chosen, and the other
Oh my
part
God! So
is
wait, you're telling me your
pretty
dad
rejected. One of them's chosen, the other one isn't doing as hot. But we're trying.
So your dad is a Jew.
My dad is a Jew boo. Yeah.
Honey, I should have known this. I should have known this years ago.
He married black twice, so he did it twice. Yeah.
Okay.
First one better than the second. Not a fan of the second one, but that first one, she's a nice lady.
Where did he grow up that he was so keen to take black lovers? It was a different time. That's why I say that. It's a different time.
No, it was a very different time. My father grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
To a relatively rural area of Cincinnati, Ohio. Or at least suburban at, a mix of that weird. It's back when suburbs kind of had like acres and shit.
Yeah.
That said, he had no reason to behave the way he's behaved. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do this. Nobody was encouraging this.
Yes.
My grandparents weren't happy about it. But my boy made some choices, and he really, like, stuck it out.
That's amazing.
And I appreciate it.
I mean, good. I mean, it's for the best. It's for the best because you book. You know what I mean? And that's the chosen part of you. You're booking. You're booked and blessed.
For sure. No, you know how much a Cheerios commercial loves a curly-haired, vaguely black person? Oh, man. They love that, to just put you in a commercial and they can't quite tell you got a Bruno Mars energy to you. Oh, they love that.
Except they don't want to see where you came from. Because you remember there was that Cheerios commercial with the interracial couple?
Yes.
And people got angry. They were up in arms.
Furious. They couldn't believe that this clearly biracial child, in fact, had two different race parents. They were so mad.
It was so wild, but it's just like so interesting. Again, it kind of goes back sometimes like symbolism to me, or expectations around concepts. What I'm saying is, what did you want Cheerios to do for you? Like, I don't have an attachment to what Cheerios is meant to represent.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
How invested are you in capitalism that that the way they sell it to you matter? You know what I mean? Like, you just want Cheerios.
Just eat the
You either
dang
like the shit or you don't like the shit. You don't need them to sell it to you in the exact way that, like, it's like being angry at the magic trick for not doing it the way you would have done it. It's like, bitch, the dove came out. Just enjoy that.
Dove came out.
It's weird.
It's weird.
But okay, so Andy likes it or warm.
Yes, he likes to be warm. We're on
prefers
the same temperature page, which I think is crucial to any relationship lasting.
Yes.
I believe that. I think if you are not on the same temperature page with your partner, it's going to cause problems.
I do think that that's very true. My wife and I, similarly, I get very cold very easily, but I also prefer it colder in the house because I think that, like, you sleep better when you're like naked and afraid kind of energy. You know what I mean? Like, just that cold outside and you're tucked in and you can't move. That's that good sleep that I prefer.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I hate that because, like, that feeling when as soon as you move, you, like, hit a cold spot in the bed. You know what I mean? And then, like, I feel it, like, it wakes me up. I'm like very warm all the time. That's like part of why I don't like LA. I sweat like Whitney, R.I.P. Like, naturally. Like, I'm very much like 10 seconds outside, beaded upper lip. Okay? That's how I am in the world. And
to be clear, Whitney's sweat wasn't natural. That was a different kind of sweat.
I am aware, but I shared her affliction without her addiction.
Sure.
There it is. But at the same time, I feel like I have such a narrow window of comfort. Like, I don't want to be cold, but, like, to me, the best temp is like 73.
Oh, you're going. Oh, that's hot.
What?
For me, we're at 69.
You did a 69.
And not just because we nasty, but also because that's the preferred temperature that we like.
That's the temp. I like to be warm, and then, like, I'm in my house. I'm in a short, a tee, a little flip-flop. You know what I mean? Like, I like to be, like, I don't know. I've got to be toasty. I like a breeze, but then also, I don't know. I wake up, like, in a cold sweat every morning. So that could be another issue.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that is related at all. That feels like trauma, maybe. I don't know that trauma has anything to do with the temperature. You probably be sweating through that either way. Okay, so you guys have a shared temperature. You're comfortable. This is something that I do genuinely, before we go to commercial, and this is very important for me to understand. Do you think that when people were saying they weren't cold, that they meant it?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Honey, I think they were just walking so carefree. You know how when it's actually physically cold, you tend to kind of tighten your body up. If it's windy, you sort of, put your head down. Yeah. Honey, it was like a summer day for them.
Sure.
Just walking leisurely, head to the sun. And that's how I was like, oh, this is not a game. And, like, also to wear shorts every day, and then just be like, yeah, this is fine.
Right. Well, that's my fear is like, and part of the reason I ask, I guess, is because I do know that as a high school kid, there were things I did that I just made, it was my thing. Right. So what you don't want to be is like, well, I wore shorts last winter, so now I'm the shorts kid in the wintertime kind of thing. Like we had this dude, Coach Hopkins. He's dead. R.I.P. Coach Hopkins,
Hopkins.
And
Whitney.
Both of them. I hope they're hanging out together. And Herman Cain. I hope Herman Cain, Whitney, and Coach Hopkins are all having drinks together in heaven. That said, Coach Hopkins used to wear shorts every single day in Chicago in the wintertime.
Oh, my God.
And we would be like, Hop, why? And he was like, oh, man, I got diabetes. I can't feel nothing in my legs. And so, like, that made sense, where it was like, oh, that's a very clear explanation, but also shorts just became your brand.
Right.
So you're mixing these two things. But when you're a kid, there's no explanation, and it just is branding. Is like, I'm the mesh shorts kid, and everybody's like, I guess so, Dylan. I don't know. Yeah, it's
what a world.
You believe them.
Oh,
You're
fully. Like that was comfort. It wasn't fashion, and it was just. I'm haunted by it. It's haunting to me. I'm also the kind of person who, though, like I'm the kind of person who's like, I'm cold, put on a coat. Like when I see somebody like not dressed right, I get very like maternal energy of like, are you okay? Do you want a sweater? Like, I don't like,
Let's get you inside with some Campbell's soup, baby.
Exactly.
This is out of hand.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more Naomi and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back. Yeah, we're back here with more Naomi Ekperigin, more My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about these chilly-ass white people, cold to their bones, as it was once presented to Naomi from her mom. Did your mom not know? You said she's from Detroit. Was she from like a black? I mean,
Detroit in the 60s was black. Yeah.
Right.
But then she went to University of Michigan, right?
So hell yeah, me too.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So that was her like intro, I think, to white folks, and that's what she was saying, because she was like, she's like, people would just walk across campus in Ann Arbor with like nothing on, or very little. So that was, I think, what started her on that.
And she was like, I will carry this lesson for my child to one day have to carry to her all white school. All right. I did a bunch of research on this subject that I want to run past you. And
Thank
I
you.
want to see if any of this sort of clicks with you. Feel free to jump in at any point, and certainly feel free to correct any of this that doesn't sit right. You having a white partner might be more knowledgeable about some of these subjects than even the Google searches that I do. But what I started with, and this is probably problematic, I started my research by looking up, are white people cold-blooded? That's what I went with for the beginning, because I wasn't sure how to phrase this.
Yep.
And apparently they're not. Apparently that's only lizards and fish, I think, but they're not cold-blooded. But a study did show that the average human temperature for men and women is around like 36.86 degrees Celsius, plus or minus 0.23.
Why are you bringing me Celsius in America?
Hey,
we're in America.
They put it in Celsius, and I didn't have the effort in me to go fix it.
God damn it, I don't know what 36.8 degrees Celsius means.
I feel like it's, what are we, like 98.6? Isn't that?
Yeah,
that's what the Listerine commercials used to say. You remember those commercials?
I don't remember Listerine talking about your body temperature.
Okay, this is what they said. They would say the average human mouth is 98.6 degrees. Okay. And then they would put some Listerine in there, and they'd be like, now it's cool as fuck. Drink Listerine. Okay, so the average temperature around 36.86 degrees Celsius. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
But this is what's interesting, is that the study was originally done because they were trying to see if men and women differed in terms of like their temperatures, and white men and white women generally do not differ significantly. However, there was a big difference between black and white women. Black women having 0.13 degrees Celsius higher temperatures on average than white women.
Well, that feels like it makes sense. You know what I mean? Karens are cold. You know what I mean? When you said, are they cold-blooded? I said, absolutely. I wonder if it's just the Nordic roots. Right? Is it the Nordic roots? They come from the cold climate originally. So, of course, they're just naturally prepared, for the Ice Age.
Yes. That like, okay, you grew up in this, even ancestrally.
Ancestrally.
Yeah. So that's always in you.
I mean, you can also just tell, like, by the fact that, like, I remember when I was little, like, elementary school, I remember saying, like, how could white people be the master race when they turn colors in the sun?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, because you know how when you see like a white person who does, live in a hot climate, they become just red and leathery and the skin can't cope. The skin can't cope.
Right.
Which leads me to believe it's not meant to be.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you're not built for that sun to be beating down on you.
This was never yours. You were meant to be in a high mountain where where the air is thin and the wind is chill.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like just this is the opposite of the place that you're supposed to be.
Yes.
And it's only because of colonization that you even brought yourself down here in the first place.
Exactly. You belong in a fjord,
What?
A fjord. Like one of those Swedish, Norwegian, just cold, watery areas. That's specific. Cold, watery.
I thought of an IKEA desk of some kind.
Well, they also belong in an IKEA desk.
Sure, you belong in a watery field with an IKEA desk in front of you. Just stay the fuck out of Africa. That's not yours. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up though, because historically, right, when we're sort of looking at the biological transitions of where whiteness comes from, apparently humans started off with pretty like neutral skin tones, much like myself. That we were, because we were sort of born from apes, if you want to have that argument, I'm happy to do it. But because we're born from apes, we were
Jesus made me. I don't know what you're talking about. God, put me down here. Continue.
He put me down here 2,000 years ago. There was nothing before that. There's nothing else to talk about. So apparently, because we're born from chimps, we basically had these neutral skin tones and fewer sweat glands. And then, as a part of evolution, melanin was introduced because we started shedding the hair. Right? So we're losing the body hair, which means our skin is now more exposed to sunlight, which means we need melanin to be able to reject the sun from beating the shit out of us.
Exactly.
Right. So then people start traveling. They're going in different directions. And basically a bunch of white people essentially evolved because their skin now needed a way to quickly absorb vitamin D and folate. Exactly. So you go to these other places where sun is less prominent, and because black skin rejects the sun, white skin absorbs all of it kind of thing. They needed a way to absorb it quickly, which to your point is why they burn so easily in these warmer climates.
They can't take it. But if you think about so many of the places, it's not simply like when you think about Russia, Alaska, like any of those places where like it's also dark half the year. You know what I mean? And so it's also like they only get a couple hours of sun, so they really got to take it in.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the sun is out for more than 4 hours. I went to Sweden once and we went and it was probably end of April. And that's like when it was sunny. And like the sun didn't go down until about 3 a.m.
Right.
And then came back up again at 7. And like it was still cold, but it was sunny. People were out. Like, they were losing their fucking minds, just T-shirt, because they're like, the sun! Like, they were just so
I must
happy.
absorb. I need this power. There's no telling when it'll be back.
And I was like, okay, give me my parka. I'm just like, I still need a puffy. But they were living, because I'm like, from where they're from. And that's like when I get it, right? Like, it felt like a very foreign land. And I was like, you know what? You get, like, sun for 3 months out the year.
Yes.
I get it.
And I respect it. More importantly, I respect it. You stayed where you belonged. Your white skin belonged in this white climate where white skin functions best, and you celebrate when that 34-degree sun beams down on you, and you're like, yeah, this is great. And it's perfect for the flesh that I was provided by my ancestors.
Do you also think it has something to do with the ability to hide from predators? If you are alabaster and you're living in a land full of snow, is that part of it? Is that part of it, that you could just kind of blend into the snowstorm?
I have to assume that it was part of it. I mean, we are the color of the sand and the dirt
Sure.
and things.
Sure.
Dirt feels.
Sure, I can lean up against a pyramid. You won't see me anymore. That was the plan. I'm no scientist.
I painted these stripes on my body already. I'm built to be next to a pyramid. No,
this is so crazy. How many have you started getting hate mail yet? Or people yelling about how we're dividing the world?
I pray to God that we do. I was saying it to Nikki the other day that nothing would make me happier than Fox News picking this up and just having a field day with everything that we're suggesting, that white people are somehow built for snow so they can hide from leopards. Oh, that would be spectacular if they get furious about this.
God, fingers crossed.
So one of the things that happens, and one of the things that they talk about in particular with like this dealing with the cold for white people and for black people as well, one of the things that they said is that there aren't that many biological differences between white and black people, but in terms of the way we handle temperature and climate, it has way more to do with acclimating than it does with biology.
Okay.
Meaning if you are sitting there thinking that you are a cold person, a person that can handle the cold, then you're probably more capable of handling it than somebody who is being taught that like you're a warm person. You need to be in a warm climate.
Huh. Interesting. So you think it's some sort of an assertion of white power to be in the cold?
Okay, now we're talking. Now you've got my ear, because I do think that some of this has been weaponized, right?
Yes.
That like if you tell a bunch of people that they are warm climate people, even though Africa is a very diverse continent with lots of different types of environments, there's all kinds of people that live in all kinds of ways in this giant piece of land. But if you tell everybody they're warm and they need to be in warmth and then take them away from that warmth and keep them in these cold places, they're naturally going to start to question, if they can handle it, if they're physically capable of it.
Well, it's such also a marker of you don't belong here. Like, do you know, I can't think of a specific movie, but do you know that trope, for instance, of like the white explorer who goes to some jungle land, goes somewhere foreign, and then he's always like sweating and like dabbing himself with a rag? Like he can't take it. He doesn't belong in this savage land. And I think it's like the same thing if you're telling people, we're going to bring you someplace that is so different. However, but here's the thing though. Think about it. When they brought people over from Africa, they started in the South. They started bringing them someplace, you know what I mean? Like, and that's also where you still have.
Well, you could argue that's acclimation, right? That's how you get them from, okay, we took you from a warm climate, so we'll bring you to a warm climate where your body will get you started. But then if you want to escape from us, you'll freeze to fucking death.
Right.
To literally run away from the environment we brought you into, your body is not built for handling it.
Well, also, not just that your body's not built for handling it, we haven't given you the tools to handle it, because you're out there, honey, if you in the South, you out picking cotton, you're barefoot with a tunic, right? And then if you want to go north, it's like, we got to get you some Uggs. We got to get you a knitted cap. You don't have it. You don't have it.
Yeah, they didn't send you off with that knit cap. You had to know how to knit that yourself. And you had to have been educated enough and sort of savvy enough to know that you were going to need to encounter knit cap weather.
Did you think Harriet Tubbs had a stash of caps? Do you know what I mean? Like, part of the railroad, she was like, all right, we're going to stop over here and get you, on our way to the Montreal Jazz Festival, we're going to stop and get you some shoes.
Hold on, before we keep going, we got to hit this hat store real quick, because you guys are going to be weirded out by this, but your ears are going to get cold. That's something that you haven't prepared for. I know you haven't been up here, Joseph, but I swear to God, your ears get cold after we walk a few more 100 feet.
Oh, it's true. Even though they're underground. You're freezing. You're freezing. We got to get your hats.
So I started researching specifically how many people freeze to death every year, assuming that that most people that freeze to death were going to be like white hikers and like Siberian prisoners. I thought it would be a lot of like that. But it turns out that actually about 1,330 people die every year from cold exposure or freezing to death in the U.S. Right? Yeah. But here's what surprised me is that a lot of it is actually coming from cities. That it's a fair amount of it. Most of it is from like rural areas, but a big portion of it's coming from cities. 75% of the people that are freezing to death are outside when it happens. Yes. But 25% are in their homes or in an enclosed area when they freeze to death.
Oh my God. Because they don't have heat because America's a third world country.
There we go. Now, oh, come on now. Now you're talking that talk. Because I think what we're seeing is like a very, back to your point about this being a tool of white supremacy, right? Is we're seeing actual evidence that white people are, at least through their own acclamation, more capable of handling the cold. And then they're freezing a bunch of brown and black people and poor people out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're putting them in environments where they can't. It's in the Northeast and the Midwest where it gets fucking freezing every, September. And then you're just like letting them die.
Well, it's also because, legally, at least in New York, which is what I know, legally, your landlord does not have to turn on heat, I believe, until November 1st. It might actually be, it could be October 1st, but one of those.
I think it's November 15th. Is legally when they have to turn on the heat.
This is what I'm saying. So, first of all, you got a goddamn turkey on the table, and you ain't got no heat. That don't make no sense. That's not right.
It's not right. And you, a New Yorker, me, a person from Chicago, we both know that November's too late.
It's too late.
Already froze.
It's already snapped. It's already snapped. It's snapped if Halloween at the latest. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? At the very latest. But usually, like, now we got some good old global warming. But, honey, I'm telling you, you'd be freezing. Or also, like, you don't even need a lot. Like, it's not like, winter has started. All you need is, like, a week of cold temperatures to die. Like, it doesn't take long. So, yeah.
And here's the crazier part. November 15th is when they start, right? And they legally have to keep your heat on. March 15th is when they no longer legally have to keep your heat on. In fucking March in Chicago, that's maybe our coldest month.
It's like 40 degrees, right? Like it would still be
40. It's fucking 20 sometimes in March. We don't break winter until July 4th in Chicago. That is our measurement. I don't celebrate the holiday. That's the break of winter in the city I'm from. And so, you're in theory creating parameters to say we are being humane. We're treating people with like decency. But the reality is you're freezing them to death.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because who owns these properties?
White people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I didn't need to say it. It was known.
I don't know if it is known, but I'll say it right now. White people, you own the stuff and you're freezing us to fucking death. And I think it's on purpose. Here's where it gets even crazier is I started looking up because, obviously exactly what you're saying about like the idea that, you could be frozen in your own home because the heat isn't turned on. But then I started looking up evictions, right? Mm-hmm. How legal is it to evict someone in the middle of the winter?
Yeah.
And apparently it's totally legal.
Oh, yeah.
That like as long as you give them the notice, the proper notification, it doesn't matter what time of year it is in any kind of cold.
Yep.
So not only are people being frozen in their homes, they're then being sent out into the streets to presumably freeze in much more dastardly, terrible ways.
I know. It's interesting because, like, when you were saying, too, what are the conditions under which people freeze, and you assumed it would be like the Siberian prisons and stuff. Actually, here's what I think a lot of it is in the U.S. Mm-hmm. It is drunk people passing out outside.
Yes.
That is what it is. It is like people who were walking from the bar in winter. People who think like a little booze will warm me up, just a tipple, and then they like walk and they go and they, Like, they can fall, they can slip, they can hit their head, whatever happens. But it's like fucking 20 degrees, and then overnight, they freeze.
You're frozen. And so that's it. I'm so glad you said that, because that brings me to another part of the research, because the thing that they talk about is freezing to death actually isn't even as common as it seems like it would be. What is common is something called cold exposure. Dying from cold exposure or injuries based on cold exposure, which is exactly what you're talking about. I get super fucked up. I go out. I don't feel the cold quite as much as I would have. And then I get frostbite, or I get a more dramatic injury, hit my head, whatever it is. So I don't die on the spot from that.
Right.
I die from the other condition that was involved in this. And so they say people with with blood pressure issues or people with pre-existing conditions often are going to the hospital for what is ultimately them freezing to death, but it's not being identified that way. Because they're just like, oh, this is shutting down. But it wasn't shutting down just because your body was shitty. It's shutting down because you were exposed to these extreme temperatures that your body couldn't handle, and now all your organs are like, fuck it, I'm out.
I know. I developed asthma when I was 26. Did not have it as a kid. Jesus. Have it now. And what I learned, and I still learn the different things that kind of will trigger me. And one of the things that will give me an asthma attack is usually going from hot to cold, cold to hot. And I mean like literally like to go from, in your warm house out in winter. If it's really cold like that, like windy and stuff, my whole chest tightens up. Yeah. And it's like literally like an instant thing. And it's just like my body's just reacting to the fact that it's fucking freezing, and it just like tightens. And then it's just like, okay, we're going to wait this out. We're going to see what we can do about it, or like get into, like kind of like, I always think it's like that walk to the subway from my house to the train. And then like kind of if I get on the train, I can kind of regulate again.
You hit your pump, you gather yourself, you're fine. and to your point, thank God you have the resources to know to walk to the train, to be able to pay for the money to get on the train, to be able to get yourself to a warm place, when a lot of people, in fact, are not equipped with these resources, are coming from an already cold environment to an even colder one, are suffering from asthma or whatever it is, and then just sort of having to die because of these shitty circumstances.
I know. And
so ultimately, and this is the scariest part of all of it, I'm so sorry that this stopped being funny and turned into us just criminalizing.
That's the comedic journey. Okay, this is Nanette, and I love it. We need to do it sometimes.
So the even more terrifying part of this is that army data that was sort of collected, because there's not a lot of data on this shit because white people don't want to do this research, but army data suggests that black people are 2.2 to 4 times more likely to experience cold-based injuries.
Really?
4 times more likely.
Wild.
So in essence, if I could summarize everything that we've sort of gathered here, and you made the point before I even got to it, is that white people created a system that allows for us to freeze to death intentionally.
Wow. This podcast is huge. Dismantling. Okay, dismantling.
I don't know that I'm dismantling. I think I just blame white people for stuff every week.
You must. You must keep them accountable, especially during the Caucasian awakening. That's what I call this time now. Them, like, I love that. Because suddenly they were all at home and could watch the George Floyd video, and we're like, what?
Right.
They've woken up. It's a Caucasian awakening.
I think that was the weird part about all of it before, was like they could have watched a million George Floyds before this, but like you said, they weren't at home. They were busy. They were out on the town. They were enjoying themselves, and now everybody's just at home. It's like, hey, have y'all seen this video? Apparently, this has been happening the whole time.
We got to get out there. I don't have to be at work. Why don't we just go out and protest?
Brunch is closed, so I might as well protest.
Hello.
All right, we're going to take another break, and then we'll be back with more Naomi and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
I can go anywhere. Suck my dick.
Yeah, we're back. We're back here with more Naomi Ekperigin, more My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about you evil, evil white people and how you've been planning to freeze black people to death as a form of supremacy. We figured it all out.
We got you.
We got you. You're caught. You dirty scoundrels. You're caught. Okay. I want to play a game. This is a fun game that I like to call White Lies.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Did you know Andy actually, we watched Friends on Netflix. We rewatched it. I had never seen it from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And we started keeping a visual, what would you call it? A visual journal, I guess, of every black person that appears on Friends, interacts though. Okay. That doesn't mean you're just like a background. You have to actually have lines. You have to engage with the friends in some way.
Yeah.
And it was, Aunt Viv was on it. Aunt Viv was Chandler's boss. Yeah, dark Aunt Viv.
Dark Aunt Viv. Good Aunt Viv.
Yes. And then Sherry Shepherd worked with Ross. You know, obviously Aisha Tyler, Gabrielle Union. I didn't know Gabrielle Union was on there.
No, I only knew Aisha Tyler as the
Gabrielle Union. But see, the thing, if you got to interact with a friend, your career took off. All right, your career took off. If you interacted and really got some screen time, that was it for you. That was it for you.
That was that little Friends bump that you needed to become a big Hollywood star.
That's what you needed.
Wow. Okay, this is a good question for you. How did you feel watching Friends? Because I personally, and I'll just say this before you even tell me.
Yeah.
I personally despised the show.
Yeah, I really didn't like the show. I thought that at the time, because I remember when it first came out, like it was very popular in school and everyone would talk about it. So I like started to kind of watch it towards the end because I was like, I kind of want to know what's happening. But I will say it actually also got worse and harder the older they got. Like there were some of the first couple seasons where you're like, okay, we're having fun. And then it gets to a point where it's like, you fucking grown.
Yeah.
Like Chandler has a real job. Why the hell he living with a roommate?
Right.
In this ugly ass apartment.
Why are y'all 35 and still like doing this?
Yes.
Get it together. Aspire for more.
And also like, Ross, you have a child. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there were just some times where I just felt like, you're a father. Get it together.
Yeah, this friendship should not mean this much to you. Maybe fatherhood is the better...
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then also Rachel. Okay, honey, she's all about weaponizing those white tears. Okay, she was just like a white woman who would... Jennifer Aniston, she would just cry. Rachel would just cry. And it was always just like, oh my God. Like, Monica, such a Karen. So type A, needed stuff her way, running the show. I was like, the only one I can kind of get with sometimes is Phoebe, but then she became too dumb. Okay. Like, again, the way she was like hippie initially, she then became like a total ditz. And it was just like, okay. So that was my long answer, because obviously when you watch the whole season back to back, you have thoughts.
Sure. I will say that I appreciate your answer in that I watched the pilot and I was like, nope, and I never invested again. I was like, this shit ain't for me. This some goofy white shit that I like goofy white shit. Listen, I am of goofy whites. I'm not like above that.
Right.
This one wasn't.
Bless this mess.
You know? Yeah, bless this. I love it. Had a great time making Bless This Mess, but it's a type of goofy white that I'm just like, this is harmless, whatever.
Yes.
But when you create a New York City that's entirely white.
That has no black people, yeah.
Yeah. And
like Sex in the City as well. Do you remember that? Except for Blair Underwood showed up for a hot minute.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what?
What a timeless, sexy man who deserves better than to be belittled.
I know.
Sex in the City.
Can you believe? Sick. But it's also like he's the black guy that they all knew. Do you know what I mean? Like from LA Law. Like they were like, is Blair Underwood around?
Right.
Like, ladies, there are more.
Well, we simply must have Blair Underwood. And it's like, no, you can have somebody else. It doesn't have to be Blair Underwood. Get Lil Boosie in Sex in the City.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens when Lil Boosie and what's her name? Charlotte have to share a scene together. And Lil Boosie's like, show me your pussy for $25. And then Charlotte's like, all right, I don't know how to do this scene no more. That's a good show. We're going to reboot it. All right, White Lies, this is the game. I am going to present to you a very celebrated or at least highly believed conspiracy theory in the white community. I would like for you to take a second to unpack exactly why this conspiracy theory is so widely supported by white people. Why does this conspiracy theory mean so much to them? What are these sneaky motherfuckers up to?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
You got it?
I'm ready.
Hell yeah. Okay, so apparently at Mount Rushmore, which has been in the news quite a bit lately because our fantastic leader is going to get his face up there and we're all super excited about it. Mount Rushmore has been in the news, and apparently behind Lincoln's head, there's an 18-foot chamber, a compartment that that the builder, who was a white supremacist, that's worth noting, built for keeping stuff behind Lincoln's head. And they have been using that chamber for keeping apparently secret documents. And white people for years have speculated about what those secret documents are. They claim that they're like secrets of the government knowing about terrorist attacks before they happen, and all these like just maniacal, evil details that they're hiding from the American public. That being said, why do you think white people are so obsessed with the chamber hidden in Mount Rushmore?
Wow. That is so, I've never heard that before, so I'm so surprised by this. Why are they obsessed with the chamber inside Mount Rushmore? Because they love themselves so much. They believe that even their statues have to be doing double duty. It's not enough to just be rock, okay?
Sure.
You've got to also be secure, like a chest. You've got to also be a closet. You've got to also hold even more power. All right? It's not just the face of Lincoln staring down on the natives. Inside is the real stuff. That's it.
That makes sense. I like that.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
I like that a lot. That actually, I think that does feel so much like the way white people see themselves in the world, right? That it's not just, oh, we are good, therefore we erect a statue of ourselves. It's that statue must also hold its own power. Power maybe as strong, if not more powerful than the figure that it was erected out of.
Exactly.
It's a type of mania almost, where it's
most certainly it's a mental illness. Most certainly it's a mania. Most certainly it's a sickness, an unwillingness to look within, even though they invented therapy. You know?
Sure.
So
and
wild.
There's literally a chamber inside to look inside of that you could say is empty and be like, we got to do some work and fill this with something substantial. And instead they speculate like, oh, this is where the true secrets are hidden.
Was Lincoln shot in the head, or was he shot
in the head?
I wonder if that's also what they're trying to do.
Maybe.
It's like, we put it in his head. You think he was shot? No, we're just getting started.
He was shot in the head, and apparently because of how shitty police and just Secret Service was back then, the dude, John Wilkes Booth, shot him in the head and then had enough time to yell out some cool shit on a stage because he was an actor. He yelled out some cool shit, and then he rode off on a horse afterwards. Like, y'all just watch this. Imagine watching the president of the United States get shot in the face.
Ugh, I wish.
Finishing the play.
I'm like, God, could it happen now? I kept hoping when Pence went to Hamilton. I was like, which one of you guys are going to be a Booth?
That's just
David,
a cool...
do what you have to do.
Okay. I think we did it. I think we nailed it all down. I think this was spectacular. You were wonderful, as anticipated. Naomi, can you tell the people where they can find you? Any cool stuff you have going on?
Well, honey, we're in a pandemic, so nothing of note. Even though you might appreciate that I did a Twitch show hosted by T-Pain where I did comedy and he played Fortnite. So that's what I'm doing in the choir. But come visit me on Instagram at Blacktress Comedy. That's where I'm really thriving. Twitter's for revolutions. I don't have that kind of energy right now. So visit me on Insta. Check out Couples Therapy Pod. Episodes drop every Tuesday.
That's beautiful. I Wait, I have to know more about this T-Pain situation. Was he nice? Was he kind?
He didn't really interact with me. You know, he played Fortnite with like different guests, and then there would be breaks where there would be sketches and comedy, and I did a little stand-up.
I got
you know, it's always in quotes now in choir. And
none of us are doing the art we believe in anymore.
I mean, can you imagine how bad we're going to be when we finally get up in front of people?
Whew. I did an outdoor show. I've only done one.
You did it?
I did it. And
did you touch the mic to your lips?
They gave us like separate mic
covers,
and you know, everybody had masks and were socially distanced outside. It was in a big open park, so it had all the cookings for the thing. But then you just remember that, like, oh man, there's a pond behind me, and like maybe we should just go do that. You know what I mean? Like maybe we should just go watch frogs leap and like be whole in nature. Like I don't. What the fuck am I telling you about, you know, my wife gets on my nerve? Like, who the fuck cares, man? Like, the world is dying and there's a beautiful scene behind me.
Yeah. Well, we're doing our best.
We're doing our best.
We're doing our best.
I'm performing in ponds. You're performing in front of T-Pain. And neither one of us are happy about it. But this has been My Mama Told Me, and you can like and subscribe and do all the cool things you do to podcasts. Thanks for listening. Bye, y'all.